family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
I feel really good because I know we're entering the final phase. And we've been at this for years. And now we have a chance, which we think is a really good proposal. Shad wanted to ensure we gave it our best shot to make sure it happened. We've done that. And, in a matter of months, we'll have resolution.
It's a crucial step in the development of a thriving downtown. And a thriving downtown, as you well know, is a crucial step in generating the commercial revenue that will fund so much of what we want to do in every single neighborhood of this city.
And even me, who were blessed with the opportunity to come to Jacksonville, even though we could have worked anyplace else in the entire United States. We've moved here, we've fallen in love with this community, and it's a place we never want to leave. So we, too, think a lot about what the future of this community holds.
1010XL 92.5 FM presents Jaguars Today with your hosts Mike Dempsey and Dylan Denmark.
All right, just the two of us, baby. Getting close for the rest of the week. Mike Dempsey, Dylan Denmark here with you. Good morning, everybody. Welcome into Jaguars Today. Good morning, Pockets. How are you?
Good, man. Good 3-day weekend, man.
Was it?
It was for me.
I didn't see the sun. I didn't see much of the house outside of the bed.
A lot of sleep.
A lot of sleep, and, just still in kind of recovery mode right now. But I'm here. I'm ready to go, and we're excited for another opportunity to talk Jaguar football in all its many forms with you on Jaguars Today. We will have a Tuesday Top 5. Didn't start it early, as I often do. You know why? Because I forgot.
Man, my days are so off. Yesterday I thought it was Sunday. Today I thought it was Monday. And when we came in, I was like, Top 5. I was like, oh, yeah, it is Tuesday.
It really was kind of nice having a few days in a row where I didn't have any work whatsoever. I mean, my work is not like a grueling 8 hours in the sun. I'm not complaining like from that standpoint. But sometimes it's nice to just shut your mind off for a couple of days. And that's what I spent my time doing for the most part. So anyway, we do have a Tuesday Top 5 today. We'll get to that momentarily. Frangie is going to stop by, the voice of the Jags, in about 35 minutes or so. We'll talk about a couple of things. Where things stand with the Jaguars now heading into the remainder of the offseason. Doug Pederson speaking this morning, by the way. We'll hear from the head coach of the Jags coming up. And the passing of our colleague, David Lamb, who we had known was not in the best of health as he came down to the end of his days here in Jacksonville and on Earth, and just wanted to spend a few minutes reflecting on his legacy as a sports broadcast giant, really, here on the First Coast. No matter whether Lamb's style was your cup of tea or not, he was legendary in the business and, really took up a lot of airspace, in the terms of being a guy who helped dictate what the discussion was going to be about when it came to sports here on the First Coast with his Lamb at Large show for all those many years. So, Pockets, why don't you go ahead, and we won't save today. We'll go ahead and fire up today's 10-10 take a little bit early.
10-10
take.
Now, Mike Dempsey's 10-10 take, brought to you by Leonard Truck Accessories.
Think about I laugh because, Dave was a very funny guy. David Lamb was. To me, my first recollection of being aware of even who David Lamb was watching Sunshine Network back in the 90s. And he was on some panel show, kind of like guys sit around. It's no different than like a Sunday morning news show, but it was all sports, right? It's like the sports reporters kind of thing where guys sit around, but this was the local version of it. And I'm like, who is this J.A. who thinks he knows everything about everything? And I'm like, I know you all are saying, look in the mirror. And, that's probably what attracted me and turned me off from Dave in equal measures at times, because he was very much like me, or I was very much like him. I'm not trying to say I was some titan of the industry or anything. I'm just talking about in terms of being stubborn, argumentative, all those things. Those are not necessarily bad traits in this business. The biggest thing about David was very kind to me. I felt throughout my career, gave me some good advice from time to time. But to me, even much like we look at Tom Coughlin and we say, well, the J Fund is kind of his legacy. I hope people remember David Lamb as much for what he did helping kids in this community with his Santa Lamb project and everything else he had a hand in. But that was just a labor of love for him every year to kind of do his own Toys for Tots on a local, smaller scale where he would collect enough donations to take 100 families shopping for Christmas. And to see these kids light up and basically go, hey, go crazy, get what you want, it brought a lot of joy to Dave, I know, over the years. And, I was very fortunate to be able to see some of that firsthand. So I'm never going to be able to encapsulate everything that David Lamb meant to the sports community in just a few minutes of airtime here. But I just wanted to give sincere condolences to his family out there and certainly his close friends over the years who, he's a one of a kind. There's no doubt about it. No matter what you thought about him, and look, his commentary at times put me off, right? And that's kind of the nature of free speech in this country. We're all going to hear things we don't like to hear from time to time. And Dave and I butted heads many times over the years. But I love the man, and I told him that to his face, and I hope you all take the opportunity to do that with people who, you feel that towards. I tell Pockets all the time I love him. I love you, Pockets.
Love you too, Mike.
Appreciate that, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. We hear about that. We hear about the golfer who took his life, and then you hear, hey, when you're struggling, reach out, tell people how you really feel before it's too late. And then you do it, and sometimes, people are like, oh, what are you, soft? What are you, like, whatever, man. Live your life the way you're going to live your life. Dave certainly did that, David Lamb, and his absence will be felt here on the First Coast. And, hopefully you have some fond memories of him as well as many years on a number of different mediums, from television. He was a giant in terms of newspaper writing. I mean, he really was. And obviously one of the pioneers of radio, sports, daily talk broadcast, setup. I mean, back in the day, 930 The Fox, who many of us came over here from 1010 from, was one of the first. It was, I guess, 930 Wins even before that. Was one of the first all-sports talk stations in America. I think it was the 9th such. So Lamb at Large was one of the longest-running shows for quite a long time that had ever been on when it came to sports talk. And David Lamb, in a long time, Joe Cowart was his co-host on that program. I'm sure Joe and everybody else had many things to say about Dave when they found out about it. I was a little bit out of sorts, but certainly, again, condolences to those who knew him, those who cared about him, and I appreciate the positive impact he made on my career, and so we'll leave it at that with Dave. And again, when you write the story of sports coverage on the First Coast, you can't get past page 1 without David Lamb. So I'll leave it at that. Again, if you have comments you want to add, you can certainly send them my way via social media this morning. You can always hit us up at MD_1010XL, at 1010XL Denmark as
Go
well.
Tigers.
Go Tigers. And we'll see. I think the Tigers will get mentioned here a little bit in our Tuesday Top 5, which we'll get to in a moment. Some just an awful story. Don't know what to make of it with the Brandon McManus situation, being accused of sexual assault by apparently a couple of flight attendants on the Jags flight to London last year. I know Doug Pederson was asked about it, and I didn't hear the comments, but I asked Andrew Gibson, who is getting those ready for us to air coming up here in the next 10 minutes or so. As Doug spoke before OTA practices this morning, said the team was unaware of it, had nothing to do with them not retaining him. Keep in mind, he was on a 1-year deal, so it wasn't like they cut him. His contract lapsed, and, I guess you make the case that he missed some key kicks down the stretch last year, whatever the case. But, McManus is accused of some real inappropriate behavior on the team flight. But beyond that, the team is accused of not creating a safe environment. That's the bigger issue right now. Whatever Brandon McManus did, hopefully right or wrong, we don't know. I wasn't there. None of us, most of us listening to me right now, were not there on that flight. So you don't know exactly what transpired. So I'll keep an open mind. He denies. He says completely made up. I can't tell you if it is or if it isn't. But generally when I hear these kind of things, I don't know if they're, in a situation like that where there have to be witnesses, you would suspect on an airplane all around, that it'd be a tough road to go down to try to make this up out of whole cloth if you are these flight attendants. So I don't know where that story is going to go. It's, yesterday, Dylan, I see a headline on a news website. I'm just kind of skimming through, and it says, NFL kicker accused of, and I'm like, as long as it's not the Jags, I don't really care, right? Like, I mean, people are accused of stuff. I don't know. I don't want them to do bad things, but it's beyond our control. Doesn't really impact us. And, of course, I clicked on it, and I see the picture of McManus in teal and immediately knew, no, couldn't have that much luck, could we? But so we'll see where that whole thing goes. Really don't know any more about it than I've just said this morning, that they accused McManus basically of helping foster a party atmosphere on the flight and that he inappropriately pressed up against multiple flight attendants during that flight, suing McManus and the team for like $1 million. Seems to be the going rate if you're going to sue somebody, I suppose. But anyway, again, not trying to lessen the impact of that or overstate the impact of it because, again, I wasn't there. If McManus is guilty of these things, the personal conduct policy and perhaps the law, because keep in mind, this is a civil suit. This is not formal charges against Brandon McManus. Hopefully things play out the course and he gets what's coming to him. But, I really, really hope that this was not a situation that the Jags could have avoided. I don't know. Again, wasn't there. Don't know anything other than what I read primarily in the Mike DeRocco story on this. So we'll find out in the days ahead as more comes out in those civil proceedings, I would suppose would be the way we'd find out. It sounds like the Jags are not going to have really any official comment. As Doug Pederson said, first we're hearing of it as this case is being made public right now. So we'll get to more from Doug Pederson coming up. But let's get to today's Chad and Sandy Real Estate question of the day. The Tuesday top 5, your current top 5 on-field concerns for the 2024 Jacksonville Jaguars. So this is not, will Trevor Lawrence get a contract done? This is not, will the stadium get done? This is not, why the heck are they going to play on some kind of field turf instead of natural grass, whatever the case may be. This is about the team. Do we have enough here? Have we done enough here? Is this guy good enough at this position? These are the things that worry you as we reach the end of May and OTAs are ongoing, and probably most of the major personnel moves have been done for this football team at this point in time. You're not going to see too many people that I would think move the needle in any capacity. Even that last trio of guys they signed. Terrell Edmonds, nice player. Not going to move the needle a whole lot. A guy who's going to come in primarily competing for a depth spot, it would appear. So let's see. All right, Dylan, you ready to fire it up for the top 5 today?
Let's do it.
All right, start it up, buddy.
Number 5.
All right, I'll go first. Give Dylan an extra 3 seconds to think of his here as we're both going to do our top 5s. And please do submit yours social media-wise. You can hit us up on the All Pro Roofing phone lines or the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures, either one at 904-641-1010. Dylan, at number 5, I've got Brian Thomas Jr. What does he do? Does he hit the ground running? Is this, I heard Dan talk about it. Dan was almost exactly, when Dan said, here's what you can kind of expect out of Brian Thomas this morning. He said about 60 catches, 800 yards, maybe 6 touchdowns, right? And anything above that could be gravy. That's almost exactly what I predicted. I had 60, I think, for 840 and 6 when we did our Brian Thomas projection. But is he a guy that for the first month is only catching 1 or 2 balls a game? Or is he a guy that really you can count on to give 7, 8, 9 targets right out of the gates and expect him to produce at those numbers? I think the speed of his acclimation to the National Football League is going to go a long way in dictating how good this offense can be this year. So I put it number 5 for me. Will Brian Thomas Jr. hit the ground running in his pro career pockets? What do you got at 5?
Number 5, I got the interior defensive line and what they're going to do with production. We know last year that they weren't able to do much, and all the love went to Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen. As much as we want to talk about fantasy and the outside, and I'm sure we'll get to corner and then that concern of ours and receivers like you brought up with Brian Thomas and what he can do coming out the gate. The game of football is still one inside out for the most part, and we're going to talk about the offensive line, but with defensively, if you're able to get not even just a pass rush, but just be effective in the run game inside out, and you bring in Armstrong, you draft a couple of guys from LSU. If you're able to start there, something that Jacksonville wasn't able to do last year, this defense can be so much better and just makes everybody else around them better. So I'm going to say interior defensive line just because you don't know how many games you're going to get out of the San Francisco free agent that you got, because he hasn't really played a little more than half the season last 2 years. And if he's able to play a full season, I think this can change the defense completely if he's able to play 16, 17 games this year.
All right. So Eric Armstead and the interior of the defensive line as a whole, I was looking at a piece over at CBS Sports today. It's 100 days out from the NFL season, right? So everyone's doing their 100 things you need to know or what have you, and they did a piece on, basically the major additions on both sides of the ball this offseason. Barely a mention of anything the Jags did in free agency. So, hey, you know what? That's fine. No matter anything they say, they hype us up last year, they don't hype us up the year before, it doesn't really matter when it comes to the outcome of these football games. So let them sleep on the addition of Eric Armstead and Mitch Morse and Brian Thomas Jr. and all the rest of the guys that they've brought in here to try to make this team better, and hopefully we'll have that big surge and we won't get stuck at 9-8 for a third consecutive year. Look, I'll take a winning record. I prefer 10, but let's make a run at 12 or 13 and see if we can put the whole thing together this season with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So share your thoughts with us today, your top 5, on-field concerns right now as things stand for the Jacksonville Jaguars for the 2024 season, and hit us up in any of the ways that we've laid out for you today. When we come back, we'll hear from the head coach, Doug Pederson. That will follow a visit with Frank Frangie, voice of the Jaguars, on the David Lamb front, as well as on where things stand with the Jags right now. Frank will be on his way out to OTAs this morning when he joins us here coming up in about 25 minutes. With Dylan Denmark, I'm Mike Dempsey. Fat Tony is gleefully on assignment. Tony, hide that phone. I'm telling you, buddy, I'm not saying I'm feeling the best today, but I am here, and I will power through the week and let Tony have his respite from Jaguars Today. Glad you're along with us here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
It's Jaguars Today Tuesday.
Brought to you by Dreamfinders Homes from the JOI studios at 1010XL. JOI, where the pros go. Follow your home team on your home station.
That was just old school smash mouth football.
1010XL, home of the Jaguars.
Get this. Joey and me were supposed to go to this concert next week, right? But then something terrible happened. Joey was driving without a seatbelt. But he didn't wreck. No, he got pulled over. Now Joey has to pay for a seatbelt ticket instead of a concert ticket, and I have to go by myself. How lame is that? So Joey, if you're out there, you're an idiot. Wear your seatbelt or you'll get a ticket.
All across the country, cops are cracking down. Click it or ticket, day and night.
Funded by the Florida Department of Transportation.
Did you know a metal roof from Prime Roofing has the highest wind and impact ratings available? If you want a stronger roof, think metal. Think Prime Roofing. Learn more at primeroofingfl.com. That's primeroofingfl.com.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes, and you know you've heard this before. Why is it so hot in this house? Well, summer's already here on the First Coast, and those soaring temperatures can do a number on our ACs. This is where the good folks at Fenwick Home Services have you covered. Fenwick offers same-day 24/7 service, and if you need a new AC because yours is on its last leg or already broken, Fenwick has next-day installation. That's right, next day, and can keep your family cool and comfortable all year long. Book online now at FenwickHomeservices.com. That's FenwickHomeservices.com, and stay cool and comfortable all year long.
Hi, this is Dave Barker. Multi-unit hair grafting is now available at IHRS and can give you 3 times more hair in one procedure over a traditional hair transplant.
Multi-unit hair grafting gave me more hair in one procedure and within my budget.
You can grow your hair back with this exclusive new procedure. Call for a free evaluation. Call IHRS 904-777-IHRS 777-IHRS 777-4477.
In sports, the grind outside the lines is what ultimately defines our success. Get the amateur's edge, powered by B3 Better, to learn the hidden path of top pros, amateurs, and coaches. Saturday mornings at 11 on 1010XL.
Hey, Hicken here, and I want to tell you about Beach's Dermatology and my doctor, Dr. Metz. I've been going to Dr. Metz for, I don't know how many years, decades. I got the scars to prove it. Listen, gents, I love the beach. I love to play golf. I love Florida. I love to go to my kids' games in the hot sun all weekend long. Summer's basically here, and the sun will be shining. Don't forget your sunscreen. Trust me on this. You need to go get checked out today. It's more important than you think. Give Beach's Dermatology a call online at beachesdermatology.com.
Frank Frangie here for Stanley Pools. You know, pool design has come a long way, and if your pool is outdated, Stanley Pools specializes in bringing older pools up to date for the whole family to enjoy. That's why I did it a few years ago, and man, I love the way my pool looks now after we added travertine pavers and so much else. Stanley Pools has been serving our community since 1988, so call them today at 269-7277 or find them online at stanleypoolsfl.com. That's Stanley Pools, a family tradition of fine swimming pools.
Let's go! And happy Halloween in June. Come cheer your Jacksonville Sharks on to victory as they fight against the Arizona Rattlers this Saturday, June 1st, 7 o'clock at the VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena. With tickets as low as $15, you're not going to find any Saturdays with more family affordable fun. It's for everyone. Dig out your best costumes for Halloween night. It's always one of the faves. Whoever has the best costume will go home with a prize. Venture into the Scare Zone, featuring 13th Floor Haunted House. And join us postgame on the field for an autograph session. Don't miss the game. This Saturday, June 1st, it's Halloween in June at the Veterans Memorial Arena. Be a part of indoor football fun and exciting, non-stop action. For tickets as low as $15, call 904-621-0700. Get ready for Fright Night. Let's go.
International soccer returns this summer. Don't miss Premier League clubs, Wolves and West Ham in Jacksonville for the Stateside Cup, July 27th at Everbank Stadium. Tickets as low as $35 at statesidecup.com.
It's tune-up time, and Florida Home AC, the official AC partner of the Jaguars, wants to partner with you for a cool summer season. Tune up your AC unit right now so it's running at peak performance when you need it most. Just call 777-4300 and order a tune-up for just $59. Keep your unit humming at optimal level. Log on to FloridaHomeAC.com and take advantage of their savings. Keep cool with Florida Home AC. That's 777-4300.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
Were you worried about me at all, Dylan?
No, I know you come back.
I got a pretty good internal clock, right? I'm not the drill. The drill seemed to, one or both at times, seem to wander off on the breaks and sometimes make it back in time, sometimes don't. But I understand this week in particular, you probably should double check before you play that intro music, whether I'm sitting in the seat. But I'm back. I'm ready to go. All right. Timed it up very well there on the break. We're going to hear from Doug Pederson throughout the show today. Press Taylor speaking this morning as well. We might not get to him until tomorrow. The plan is to have Demetrius Harvey join me in studio on Thursday. Big Meech a little under the weather today, so hopefully he's feeling better by then. I know he's not going to be out at practice today, so you'll miss his tweets and updates and stuff like that, but I'm sure the rest of the local crew will have you covered out there from the Florida Times Union and elsewhere. So hopefully we'll have Demetrius in studio with us on Thursday, Johnny Owen tomorrow. Tom McManus is going to be off on Friday, Dylan, so we're going to have some kind of a free-for-all. I don't know what we're going to do without McManus in here on Friday, but we'll figure it out. We've got another McManus story. This is not Tom-related at all. And, you know, as we brought up when they signed Brandon McManus last year, he and Tom are the only two McManuses with their exact same spelling to have ever played in the National Football League. And to Tom's knowledge, they are not related. It'd probably be a pretty good week to not be related to Brandon McManus, whether the story is true or not. You know, you just hate to get dragged in by association. I hope it's not true, what went down or what's alleged to have gone down on this flight to London last year. So, Doug Pederson, a little bit in the dark here, but I give credit to the local media for starting with this. This is the storyline that's going to linger for a little while until this gets resolved, and it not only reflects directly on McManus, but the organization is being sued in civil court for not creating a safe environment for the flight attendants to work in. That's from their perspective. I'm sure the Jags would counter that, and again, I'm not there, not taking sides, other than hoping to find out that this is, some giant misunderstanding. What is the likelihood of that? I don't know. What can I tell you, right? Again, not being there, I'm just, trying not to think the worst of anybody in this situation. Certainly don't want anything bad to befall, I'll pick a couple of consonants and jam them together. Befall this organization at all in any way. But this is where we find ourselves this morning. So Doug Pederson was starting off his press conference, was asked to react to the story that just came out yesterday about Brandon McManus.
Obviously disappointing to hear the news that took place. Other than that, honestly, being that it's a legal matter at this time, can't really comment until more information is gathered. But that's the first. That's the first I've heard of it. Yes.
So Doug Pederson, right there, saying that this is the first he's heard of it. But again, in a position where he can't really say more beyond that. I don't know. His point of view would probably be that he doesn't know more beyond that. But was asked because, again, part of the accusation is that the Jags didn't have a very professional culture on this flight, I guess, right? I'm putting it into my own words here a little bit. But Doug said, no. Team flights, we treat those as business trips.
I mean, a typical flight is not that way. It's a business trip. And that's how we approach it from an organizational standpoint, from the league standpoint. So for that, when I read that, that part of it's disappointing.
All right, so again, when you say a typical flight is a business trip, the other side would say, well, was this an atypical flight? I don't, you know what I mean? Because you're going to London for 2 weeks. Is this somehow different? I don't know. Dylan, what is this next one here? What does this reflect? Because I don't want to set up the wrong thing. It says did not know McManus.
I don't think he heard of the story until it came out.
Okay, let's just hear. This is a 6-second clip. Let's hear it and try to figure out what Doug is saying here.
But at the time you made that decision, you guys didn't know anything about this? Or
none of this, no.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, so he's saying he didn't know when they decided not to bring him back, that this was not a factor in it. So, okay, why didn't you end up – this will be the last thing on this, and we'll turn the page, but I think it's an important story that's out there. It's going to be on the front page of, the major sport – any major sports site you go to right now, McManus, Jaguars being sued, okay? And the words sexual misconduct, sexual assault, all these things are being thrown in there. All right, so you didn't know any of this was going on. Ultimately, take us back through the decision not to bring back Brandon McManus, if you would.
Well, I think there's a couple of reasons. One, performance. I mean, that's obviously in this business. Whether it's a coach or a player, it's performance driven, right? Then you start talking about contracts and the amount of contracts and the number of the dollars and cents that go into it a little bit. The age of the player. I mean, there's a lot of things that can factor into, and the fact that, it's a position that it's a key position. It's critical. It's valuable because it gives us as a team points. On the board or not. And then if we have an opportunity to draft somebody, looking forward, then we take advantage of that. So. I think there's several factors, and not just in this case, in Brandon's case, but I think that's the same way with any position that we look at.
Well, Dylan, you go back to when we found out Brandon McManus was going to leave, right? Did it shock you?
No, not at all.
Me either, right?
Especially, there was too many times in the year where the Cincy game really, you just got to make your kick. You have one job, make your kick, and he didn't do that in enough times in the season where he needed to make his kicks.
Well, and part of his job as well, to me, was coming in here with a big leg and be a weapon. Basically, don't let anybody return kickoffs against you. Put it through the back of the end zone, right? And then they opted to sign Riley Pederson I think it was a futures contract. And obviously, Cam Little looks like he'll be the kicker of the future, right? So they went from valuing more short area accuracy to we need to be able to score from further away here a little bit with McManus. And I wonder if the you didn't know exactly how the rule change was going to go at the time you let him go, but the way it has worked out and the way you could have extrapolated it might work out is that kickoffs, as they've turned out, are less important now. Having the big leg on kickoffs, that is, right? You don't need to be able to pound it into the end zone 5 yards deep every single time. In fact, that's penalizing for your team now. So you want that ball to land between the 20 and the goal line. So maybe, that's a little of it. Again, at the time, I did think it was curious that they went back with Pederson, because did Pederson all of a sudden become a different kicker than the previous year when they decided to move on from him? But it seems like in this process, going with Cam Little, that they're trying to value accuracy when they do opt. And Little had some really long kicks in college too, but he's known more for that, you get inside 40, 45 yards, he basically doesn't miss. And I think the Jags want to value that. And again, the big leg on the kickoffs, not as needed in today's NFL. All right, look, here's what I don't want to do. I don't want to lump any of these other Jags in with this McManus story. I want to do a clean break on the Doug Pederson audio here, okay? So we've got plenty more to come from Doug this morning. You also have Frangie, who's going to join us here coming up in less than 10 minutes or so. But, Dylan, while we're at it, why don't we go to number 4 in today's countdown?
Number 4.
Yeah, I knew we could do it. All right, what are your current top 5 on-field concerns for the 2024 Jacksonville Jaguars? Dylan, you had interior defensive line at number 5. What do you have at 4?
Number 4, I'm going to go with the run game. I'm going to lump in the offensive line and the depth of the running backs as well in this. 2 years ago, you had, 4.5 yards per carry. That went down to 3.5 last year.
Heck, it was 5.2 for ETN, I think.
Yeah. And last year, you weren't able to run the ball. You knew that you were going to be in passing situations. The offensive line, it was not consistent with Cam Robinson being out, and you trade for Ezra Cleveland, so you had a new guard late in the year. The offensive line, I've never seen an offensive line that's not good in the run game, but good in the pass game. It's usually you have maulers that are good in the run game, and then that translates to the pass game as well, and it helps everybody else. I'm going to say the run game. And also, too, you got to have somebody else besides ETN that can get a lot of the workload. I know last year it was expected to be Tank to take some of the workload off. It didn't work out that way. Doug Pederson last week when he spoke to the media, was last Monday, that he thinks that Tank can get a lot of the carries and take some of the workload off of ETN. And if that can be the case, that can help this team out a lot.
Yeah, I think he's right. I think Tank Bigsby is a talented player. Right? I think we saw glimpses of it in college. I thought we saw glimpses of it last offseason. It became a ball security issue right off the jump, and sometimes that gets in a guy's head, and you lose the confidence of your coaching staff. You lose confidence in yourself a little bit there, and then you're thinking about, I got to secure this ball rather than I got to slam this thing up there as hard as I humanly can on 4th and 1 to try to convert this here. So I do think they've got it. I think they've got enough talent in that room, but it's got to prove itself. It's got to play out. So I don't hate that at all. So you go with the running game as one of your on-field concerns. For me, this is going to be a popular one, I think, from people today. Who's the third pass rusher? Is it Travis Gibson? Is it Eric Armstead? Is there somebody that if Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker do their thing or something similar to what they did last year, don't leave you wanting if a team finds a way to block those two guys on a given Sunday afternoon? Can Eric Armstead get you 8? Or can his pressure create a couple of other guys getting 6? And that doesn't sound like a ton, but when you look at what the Jags have had as their number 3 guy the last couple of years, it's been in that 3.5 range, and that just hasn't been good enough, right? So consistent pressure, but who in particular emerges as that guy? Maybe it's Devin Lloyd. Right? Maybe it's one of the guys that they've already had on the roster. Maybe it's Mason Smith. I don't think that's the most likely outcome, but I think you can't completely discount that. Maybe it's Armstead. Maybe it's Devon Hamilton or Roy Robertson Harris, again, coming from the inside. Maybe it's Travis Gibson on the outside. Maybe it's somebody who's yet to make their mark at all in the National Football League. But that's what we got to find out. And we might not know that until we get into the regular season to see if somebody is consistently showing up. Or, put it this way, if a third person is consistently showing up every week providing pressure. It could be a different guy. It doesn't have to be Travis Gibson or Devin Lloyd every single week. If you're creating some havoc maybe it'll be a different guy. Maybe it'll be weeks when Josh Allen just gets double-teamed and gets taken out. Somebody's got to step up. Who's that third guy going to be behind Allen and Walker? I think for a lot of people, that's still one of the abiding mysteries of the Jaguars offseason as they move towards 2024. We move towards welcoming in the voice of your Jacksonville Jaguars. Frangie is going to join me next. We'll reflect a little bit on the career of David Lamb, but as well, and where Frank sees these guys standing at the moment. What are the concerns that he has? Maybe the top one or two questions that he feels he'd like to see answered this offseason. Frangie will join us from the Frangie Show and the voice of the Jags. Straight ahead, you're listening to Jaguars Today. Mike Dempsey and Dylan Denmark on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Hey, folks, Mike Dempsey here for Awaken 180 Weight Loss. If you didn't hear me talking about this on Friday, this is not necessarily directly attributable to Awaken 180, but I have to give him some of this credit here that, other than the specific issue I was dealing with medically last week, I'm in pretty good health for a guy my age who's been as heavy as I have been, and it's, to me, in large part to the fact that I've been able to shed a lot of that excess weight and keep that weight off thanks to the folks at Awaken 180 and the great program that they have. They helped me finish off my weight loss goals last September, knocked out over 25 pounds in that month, and I've been able to keep that weight off. My cholesterol is down. My heart is good. I don't really have any major health issues other than the one I'm dealing with, which has nothing to do with how much I weigh at any given point in time. So thank you, Awaken 180, for putting me in a better overall physical state than I've been in a long, long time. You could be next, 844-346-1800 if you've got some pesky pounds to lose, if you want to keep them off. Awaken 180 Weight Loss online at awaken180weightloss.com.
It's a Jaguars Today Tuesday on 1010XL.
From the Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute studios.
Brought to you by Dreamfinders Homes.
1010XL salutes David Lamb, a true pioneer in sports radio in Jacksonville and an authentic sports icon to so many here. We'll miss you, David. Rest in peace.
Parents, now is the time to start signing up your kids for the best basketball camp in the 904. Tommy Houlihan's basketball camp at Beaches Chapel in Neptune Beach. 2 sessions now open and ready for registration. 1 week in June, 1 week in July. Camp focuses on basic fundamentals and team concepts of the game. Keep your kid active this summer with Tommy Houlihan's basketball camp programs. Register today at TommyHoulihanBasketball.com. TommyHoulihanBasketball.com. Sessions will sell out. Let's play ball.
I'm Ben from Beard's Diamonds. My father and I buy our stones direct from the diamond cutters. No middleman, no big company overhead, no commission salespeople, and we pass the savings on to you. Before you buy anywhere else, remember, Beard's Diamonds will beat any competitor's price.
In the St. John's Town Center or at beardsdiamonds.com.
Hey, it's Roger Moore, CEO of Loan Pronto. If you're like me, you're getting crushed by rising costs of everything these days. I get it. It's brutal, and credit card rates are ridiculous and going higher. That's why at Loan Pronto, we launched our Express Equity Line of Credit to bring you the relief you and your family need, using your home, your most valuable asset. We've helped thousands of people like you get fast relief with cash. The average homeowner who does this gets tens of thousands in just days and is able to save $850 per month in overall expenses. I'm talking life-changing money. Your money that you have access to right now. Listen, if you're ready to get control of your finances and get off the hamster wheel, call Loan Pronto. You can get approved for Express Equity Line of Credit in just minutes, and we can get your cash in less than a week. Stop digging a deeper credit card hole today. Call Loan Pronto now. 904-999-1508. 904-999-1508. LoanPronto.com. 904-999-1508.
Equal housing lender. NMLS 166-1781. Subject to lender approval. NMLS consumeraccess.org.
Coverage and analysis of the 2024 off-season workouts on 1010XL is brought to you by Duck Rooter, plumbing, septic, and air conditioning. Proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
New faces on the field for the first time in team.
There are no shortcuts, man.
OTA coverage is brought to you by Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic, and Air Conditioning. Proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Up, quick feet.
On 1010XL.
Hey everybody, Mike Dempsey here for Dandy Foods. Dandy subs and sandwiches. Look, we always want you to think about those great options as you're driving around Duval. But the beauty is, even as I'm dropping pounds, Dandy's got great options for me as well. Told you all about their protein packs, delicious salads that they have out there. They have fruit cups for on the go. You know what they have. Veggie snack trays. You can grab those on the go as well. Perfect, healthy snack. Dandy is the name to know when you're on the go. So stop into a Gate store anywhere around Duval and make yours a dandy, and do it today.
Hey everybody, Jennifer Marion with Randy Marion Cadillac in Jacksonville here to say hello, and we'd sure like to have your business.
You know what? They're going to love the king of price.
My dad believes in making great deals and having a great selection in stock.
Cadillac XT4s, XT5s, and XT6s, and Escalades.
The all-electric Cadillac Lyric.
CT4s and CT5s.
Cadillac luxury and selection is just waiting for you.
At Randy Marion Cadillac, Southside Boulevard, Jacksonville.
And don't forget, tell them Jennifer sent ya.
Transmission troubles? I'm Robin Sidbury, owner of Action Transmission Specialist on Merrill Road. So come in and see how we can help solve your transmission troubles. We service all makes and models. Remember, get traction. Call Action at 744-0755.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes, and I've got some exciting news. A second location of Leonard Truck Accessories is coming to Beach Boulevard. Whether it's truck accessories, trailers, or on-site uplifts, they've got you covered with all your favorite brands. All those accessories to make your truck look and perform better than ever. From Real Truck to UWS, to Weather Guard, carry-on trailers, and much, much more. Circle your calendar for Friday, June 28th from 2 to 4 p.m. because we're throwing a party and you're invited. Tons of prizes to win, including a brand new loaded golf cart. That's Leonard Truck Accessories. Your truck, your style.
Wondering what you're going to do for dinner tonight? Southern Steer Butcher is a full-service butcher that offers take-and-bake side options that are oven-ready.
Now open in Ortega. For tasty tips and juicy breasts, choose Southern Steer Butcher.
1010XL is presented by Farrah & Farrah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Let's ring up another guest on the All-Pro Roofing phone line. Now, more Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
All right, we move along here. Jaguars Today this morning, kicking off a fresh week, getting a late start. It's Tuesday. After all, the Tuesday Top 5 is out there for you, though, and you can weigh in on social media or on the phone lines or the text line if you like. What are your current top 5 on-field concerns for the 2024 Jacksonville Jaguars? So this is not about Trevor getting a contract or the stadium getting done. This is the football, the X's and O's kind of stuff. And the guy who gets the high above front row seat, Mr. Frank Frangie, voice of the Jaguars from the Frangie Show, weekday afternoons here on 1010XL. Frank joins us now. Good morning, Frank. How are you?
Good morning, Mike. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on. Beautiful day out here at OTAs, I can tell you that.
Have you made it out already? You still en route?
I am here. When you and I texted yesterday, I was thinking it was at 11. It got moved up a little bit, so I am sitting here watching the boys work out as we speak.
Well, all right.
So
well, Frank, before we get to that, and that's very important stuff, obviously, I'm sure you had an opportunity. I was a little under the weather, so I assume you had the opportunity on Friday to reflect a little bit about the career of David Lamb, a colleague of ours, a friend of ours over the years, and what he has meant to the sports scene here in Jacksonville. What would you like to let folks know who may have missed any of that about what he, in your opinion, meant here on the First Coast?
No, Mike, I appreciate you asking that. And, yes, we did talk about it last week. Look, David was a pioneer, man, and you know that. You and I both worked with David at 2 different stops. I also worked with him at a 3rd stop, the Times Union. I think he was ahead of his time. I think he and Jay Solomon laid the groundwork for sports radio here. Joe Coward said something very kind, Mike. He said the people that laid the groundwork for sports radio were just Jay Solomon, David Lamb, and Frank Frangie. Whereas I appreciate that. It was a sweet comment. Jay Solomon and David Lamb were the pioneers, and I was a bit of a tag-along, you know. So I was able to learn from them and watch them. David was authentically him. You know this. David never wavered from what he believed, how he believed he wanted to live, how he believed he wanted to talk sports. That ticked off some people. It also made us appreciate him as an entertainer. So he was one of a kind. He cared. He cared about young people. People don't realize that part about him, but they should. He cared about the industry. I can tell you that. Big fan of yours, by the way, Mike. I can tell you to the very end, we had those conversations. David did a great job. He's a pioneer. And one of the reasons we're all here is because of people like Jay Solomon and David Lamb. I really believe that.
Yeah, and I mentioned the whole Santa Lamb thing. I think a lot of people are aware of that. But he really poured a lot of his time, and I think that brought him a lot of joy in his. I don't know. I don't want to say his last years, Frank, because he did it for years and years and years, going back to when we all worked over at 9:30 and. Just really, I think that was one of his favorite things to do is to be able to take those kids and just say, hey, get what you want. And it wasn't Dave. It was, Dave's force of personality that got people to contribute and help kids out in the community, and I always thought that was one of the most important things to him that I ever saw.
No question. It was really important to him, Mike. And he did it before it was vogue to do it. Before it was vogue to do charitable work and to connect the sports realm to that. He was doing it beforehand because he thought it was a good thing and important. You're right. It was really important to him, and he did it to the very end. And even when his health wasn't as good, he found a way to do it. Santa Lamb, he took kids shopping, and a lot of kids, that was their only Christmas. And I'm proud of him, and I told him that 1,000 times for doing that. You better believe it was important.
All right. Well, I'm sure as the days go by, we'll have more reflections on what Dave meant to this community and certainly to this industry. It's hard to calculate what the industry would be like here in Jacksonville without him, Frank. But let's move on to some Jaguar-specific issues. And, unfortunately, the story comes out yesterday on Brandon McManus, the accusations in a civil suit that he acted inappropriately on a team flight to London last year, and trying to be very careful here. I wasn't there. I mean, you're on the flight, but I know they like the players are separate usually from the rest of the personnel. I presume you were on that flight anyway. And what do you make of this story, Frank? I mean, Doug Pederson saying this is the first he's heard of it, quite frankly, and this is a story that not only accuses McManus of misconduct, but the Jags of fostering an environment where this could take place.
Well, here's what I'll tell you. First of all, believe it or not, that's the one flight I was not on.
Is that right?
Because
you are so happy right now.
Yeah. I am not going to get asked about being a witness. That's exactly right. But I wasn't. I got a lot of thoughts on it. First of all, but Suzanne and I flew. It was Suzanne's first trip over there, Mike, because we had the 2 games, so we flew privately, so I was not on the plane. I will, even if I had been, where I sit is separated from the players, I wouldn't have been able to see much anyway. But I will say this. You need to be a freaking grown-up. I don't know what happened and what didn't happen. I have no idea of whether Brandon's guilty of what he's being accused of or not. I don't know. What I do know is it's preposterous to hold in my opinion, I'm not a lawyer, to hold the Jags responsible for how a grown-up acted on that flight. That part really bothers me when I saw the story. I mean, these are grown-ups, okay? These aren't middle school kids. And the Jaguars can't assign a security person to every single player and every single person on that flight. There's 200 people on that flight. So the Jags getting, and maybe this is a legal ploy. I don't know the legal game, Mike, but I'm disappointed that the Jags would be brought into this. What in the world could the Jags have done? Unless there's this catastrophic bad behavior, trend-like behavior, and I can tell you that's not the case. I am on the plane, and I can tell you that I'm on the plane every week, and there's I've never heard of anything inappropriate in terms of a pattern. Ever heard of that pattern. So I don't know what Brandon did or didn't do. There's no way I would know, but it's a shame that the Jags, in my opinion, are getting drawn in.
Again, I'm honestly, I'm happy for you to not have to even answer those questions, right? Not being there directly, and I don't know any more than what was in that story, one way or the other. I don't know who's, I'll let the process play out. I don't know what else we can do, and we'll see where the chips ultimately fall on that, Frank. So let's get to the stuff that Jaguar fans really want to hear about, and that's the on-field product, and we're talking a lot about that today, hopefully. What's caught your eye or created a buzz, if anything, for you in the first few weeks of rookie minicamps, OTAs, and the like?
Boy, and I'm taking the chalk here, Mike, and I apologize for that. But this guy, Brian Thomas Jr., bro, he really looks the part, man. Now, look, it's easy to look the part when you're in underwear, as they like to say, or pajamas, whatever they call this. No one can hit anybody. And you haven't gone against NFL cornerbacks in an NFL game, and I understand all that. But, boy, does this guy look the part, man. I've heard more people say that he actually might have been more talented than Malik Neighbors. Didn't have the career that Neighbors did. He only had the one big year. But he looks at Mike. He is 6'3", 6'4", 210, all of that. He's got that, that twitchiness we saw from Calvin Ridley, that twitchiness that you saw from the Jimmy Smith. Well, I'm not saying he's Jimmy Smith. But the Jags haven't had that. The Jags haven't had that quick, twitchy receiver. Well, he's one, and he's 6'4", 210. So he has really stood out to me. Some of the guys from last year, Brenton Strange looked like a better player. He looks leaner and more of a pass-catching type guy to me. Tank Bigsby looks good, Mike. He's thick. He's improved his body a little bit. I think he lost his confidence last year with those early fumbles in the preseason and really never regained his confidence. He looks better to me. The line, I'm right over here right now with Roy Robertson-Harris and Eric Armstead. They're about 10 feet away from me on the walking around. And I will tell you, they got bigger, they got stronger, they got longer. And I think to my untrained eye, that's kind of what stands out.
Frank, just one thing, cycling back to Brian Thomas Jr. quickly. What have you heard feedback-wise in terms of his route running? That was one of the critiques of him coming in. Didn't run an extended route tree, but I think he's got the physical gifts. From what you're hearing, is he starting to show that a little bit on the practice field?
I haven't asked about I don't want to be disingenuous. I haven't asked about the route running, so I don't know that answer. I will. Obviously, as we get closer to the mandatories in June and then camp, of course, we certainly will. So I haven't asked that. What I have asked is he as good as he looks, and everybody is wowed. It's not just me. He is so the athletic stuff is there, not just big and strong and fast, how he comes out of cuts, how he catches the ball in his hand. Remember how Justin Blackmon used to attack the ball?
Yes.
He would attack it, man. And that's how Brian Thomas is. He attacks the ball. And so that's what stands out. And I think that's a consensus. That's not just me. I think that's a consensus with him that he's that guy. I'll ask about the route running. Haven't asked that question yet. And I don't know how much of that they've gotten into. Right now, it's not even a lot of installation. It's a lot of learning the pro. Young guys have to learn what it's like to be a pro, what OTAs are like, what it's like to be coached by these guys. And I think that's a lot of what's going on now.
Talking here with Frank Frangie, voice of the Jags. Frank, there are certainly some new faces here, but there are some faces that return that really didn't have much of an impact last year due to a variety of factors. Like Ezra Cleveland was never 100% healthy. Devon Hamilton was never himself last year, it appeared. Ventrell Miller didn't have a rookie season here in Jacksonville. Could the Jags maybe benefit more than we think about with just some of their internal pieces just playing and being available this year?
That's a great take. There's new guys that aren't new guys, aren't there, Mike? That's a really good take. And yes, there's new guys that aren't new guys. And everybody you mentioned, I do think Ezra Cleveland is going to help them. He's an athletic. They want athletic offensive linemen that can run downfield. Tyler Shatley's a wonderful guy to have on your team. He's tough. He's a great teammate. But you're not going to run a lot of screen passes to his side. Well, with Ezra Cleveland, he can get down the field, so I think you are going to see that. So yes, so I think he does make a difference, and I think he'll continue to make a difference. I think he's kind of that guy. I'm trying to think. Who else did you mention right then?
Ventrell Miller.
Ventrell Miller was a really good player at Florida when he could stay healthy. That's the big question. They like him. He'll probably be the backup Mike. He'll be in that rotation out at more of a 4-3 look, Mike. He's a good player. But he's got to stay on the field. He's one guy that's got to find a way to stay on the field. If he can't stay on the field, it's not going to matter. As I say that, by the way, Brian Thomas just ran a beautiful deep route from Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, he's got to find a way to stay on the field. But I think your take is right. There's new guys who aren't new guys who were here before, but now we have a chance to see that. Look, Mike, I think they have a good team. And listen, it's a great conference. It's a good division. It's an improved division. But I think they've got a good roster. I think the one question about this team will be, I think everybody acknowledges that in all likelihood the floor is 8-9 wins. I think that's the floor. And so the question then becomes, is that what they are? Or do the pieces fall together and all of a sudden they do have that 11 or 12 win season? But I like their roster, Mike. I really do.
All right, Frank, last thought here. I heard Dan and E.T. talking about this morning on the drill. Just one thing Trevor has to do is eliminate some of these fumbles, right? 21 fumbles in the last 3 years. Leads the league. That is unacceptable. He'd tell you that. I'm sure Doug Pederson will tell you that. The whole staff would tell you that. So what, in your opinion, can be done to help a player, a quarterback specifically, who's had ball security issues in the pocket?
That's a great question. No, the first obvious thing is you got to protect him better. I think protection is a big part of that. And the protection wasn't very good last year. But the biggest thing here, Mike, the biggest thing here is Trevor has to learn now in year 4 in the league and year 3 with this group what you can and cannot get away with against NFL-level defensive players. That's been his biggest, and he would tell you that. His biggest challenge is hold the ball a little bit longer because your left tackle is going to be able to, your Clemson left tackle is going to always be able to hold off that Wake Forest defensive end, all right? But he's not going to hold off that Cincinnati Bengals defensive end. And I think that he's got to learn to get the ball out quicker because this isn't college. You can't try and stick that thing in there if the play's not there against NFL defensive backs because they will get there. And the defensive backs in college did not get there. And I think, and that's been the process. And I think Trevor would tell you, I think Doug would tell you, that's the thing that's got to come along faster. Knowing what not to do and that means holding the ball. And if you hold the ball too long, you fumble. You're more likely to fumble. I'll bet you he held the ball longer. I don't know. There's all these analytics and metrics, Mike, in football today. But I'll bet if they had that, I'll bet he held the ball longer than any quarterback in the league. I'll bet you if there's some sort of a metric that tells you that, I'll bet he held the ball longer because he wants so badly to make a play. And his whole career at Cartersville and Clemson and everywhere he's been able to hold the ball a little bit longer. He's been able to stick that thing in there where other quarterbacks couldn't because of his talent and the talent around him. And that's what he has to learn. That's the big step forward. It even got him hurt. I think it's one of the reasons he was injured a lot last year because he held the ball longer. That's the gigantic step forward for Trevor Lawrence in my mind.
All right, Frank, I'll cut you loose, but I will say the one time, other than Jag football, that we agree and root for the same interest is when Pittsburgh plays Atlanta. So, I was rooting for the sweep, buddy, but 2 out of 3 ain't bad. So,
well, and after the first 2, I had the broom emoji ready for all my friends at the radio station, just so you know that. Jeff Prosser and J.J. LaSalle and Andrew Gibson, I couldn't use it, Mike. That's my only disappointment from the weekend.
Use it anyway. That's a Pittsburgh sweep. That's what we call a Pittsburgh
doggone
sweep.
Right it is.
Yeah, 2 out of 3,
Exactly
man.
right.
That's close.
Hey,
all right.
Doggone right it is.
Frank, have a good time out there at practice. Keep them healthy, and we'll listen for your commentary this afternoon.
All right, Mike. Thanks, buddy.
Appreciate you. There he goes, Frank Frangie, voice of your Jacksonville Jaguars. And, of course, the Frangie Show, weekday afternoons at 4 o'clock here on 1010XL. And ongoing right now, OTAs. Frank right there, field side, giving you a little taste, including Brian Thomas catching a long pass in practice today. Let's keep that up. Brian Thomas. Dylan and I will get back to our countdown. You can get on board in hour number 2 if you'd like, weigh in on anything Jacksonville Jaguar related, 641-1010 on the All-Pro Roofing phone lines or on the text line, which is designed by Lifetime Enclosures. Mike Dempsey, Dylan Denmark. This is Jaguars Today on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Jaguars Today Tuesday on 1010XL is brought to you by Dream Finders Homes.
From the Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute studios.
Okay, just push the blue button.
The blue button. Is that it?
Yeah, why? What's wrong?
Nothing. I just thought it'd be more complicated than that.
1010XL.
Ever buy a gym membership but don't ever use it? Who hasn't? ET here, sports fans, and instead, I send plants and flowers to people I love from Kuhn Flowers, home of the beautiful window display on Beach Boulevard. Now that's money well spent. Kuhn Flowers.
All right, get those boats ready. The Dailies Old School Kingfish Shootout presented by Yellowfin is coming soon to St. Augustine. It's June 8th. Just go to oldschoolkingfish.com. You can find out more. The grand prize is a Yellowfin bay boat. And with limited boundaries, no bait buying, and no checkout, it is seriously old school. That's why it's the Old School Kingfish Shootout. Here's how you do it. You go online, you sign up, and you become part of what is going to a terrific event. It's the Old School Kingfish Shootout. Go to oldschoolkingfish.com.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes. This summer, let's make a pledge to fit into last year's shorts. How about your high school shorts? I am this summer thanks to dropping 40 pounds with Awaken 180. Don't buy bigger shorts. Instead, do what I did. Choose the solution for weight loss. Awaken 180 weight loss.
Hey folks, this is Dave Benyon with my son Ammon here from Zero Res. Ammon, you've been cleaning air ducts for a while now. What are some of the reasons customers might consider getting their air ducts cleaned?
There are many reasons. Many times, people suffer needlessly from poor indoor air quality produced by the conditions in their air system. Construction dust, the presence of bacterial growth, and years' worth of buildup all come together to make your air ducts a pretty gross place. If you suffer from allergies, have recently moved, recently remodeled, or have never had your air ducts cleaned, then now is the best time to call. By calling Zero Res, you'll have the peace of mind of knowing that you called the best of the best. Our state-of-the-art truck mount system and top-of-the-line service representatives simply can't be found anywhere else. Google Zero Res and read thousands of 5-star reviews.
So what kind of deals can I expect?
Just mention that you heard us on the radio, and we'll give you $100 off your air duct cleaning.
Wow, that sounds like a pretty great deal. Remember, folks, Zero Res,
spelled forward or backwards, it's the right way to clean.
Home of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Are you having constant issues with drains backing up? Have you wasted money on plumbers that can't resolve your problems?
We're DuckDuckRooter, and we have the solution. We'll come out to your home or business, identify your problem, and make the repairs once and for all. From visual camera inspections, hydrojetting, line replacements, our team of pros will get the job done right. Call now to schedule service and relax. 904-862-6769. Financing is available. DuckDuckRooter.com, a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Are you suffering from shoulder pain? If you have clicking and popping in the shoulder joint, persistent pain that intensifies with use, an inability to lift your arm over your head, or a tingling, burning sensation in the shoulder, elbow, or wrist, waiting to see a doctor could make your injury worse. Baptist Health and Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute have innovative and effective treatment options available right now to relieve your pain and restore your mobility. Don't wait. Call 904-JOI-2000.
I'm Clayton Bromberg, the president of Underwoods. While we've earned the reputation as North Florida and South Georgia's preeminent official Rolex jeweler, it's important to point out that at Underwoods we carry other watches too. We start with Seiko, the most reliable, serviceable watch made for under $500. And they've started making jeweled, self-winding watches again, and sports watches you'd have to see to believe. Next, we have Tavan, the Swiss-made ladies' and men's and dress and sport watches, and they start at $575. Another name we carry is Tudor, inspired by Rolex with the same founder and owner, the Hans Wilsdorf Foundation. And their sport watches and chronographs are the rage in Swiss timekeeping, with new in-house watch movements and exciting new model introductions every year. So if you're interested in watches, we have what you want at Underwoods. And all of our watches carry a 5-year warranty. At Underwoods, in San Marco, Avondale, and the shops of Ponte Vedra.
The 2024 season schedule is here, and so are single-game tickets. Don't miss your favorite matchups, and be at the bank when the Jaguars take on the biggest names in the NFL.
Into the end zone, touchdown!
Don't miss a moment of the action during our exciting 30th season, and grab your single-game tickets today. Lock in seats for your favorite matchup now by going to jaguars.com/tickets or call 904-633-2000.
This is Molly McDonald with your 1010XL Southeast Orthopedic Specialist Local Sports Update. The Gators are gearing up as the women's softball team advances to the College World Series. The Gators defeated Baylor Sunday afternoon 5-3, securing their ticket to the Women's College World Series for the 12th time in program history. The Gators head to Oklahoma City to face Oklahoma State for Game 1 on Thursday. The Gators baseball team earned their 16th spot in the NCAA tournament and will head to Stillwater to take on Nebraska this Friday. This will be the Gators' 16th consecutive NCAA tournament under head coach Kevin O'Sullivan. In basketball news, star Gator and rising senior Walter Clayton Jr. will withdraw from the NBA draft and return to Florida for his final collegiate season. Clayton was Florida's leading scorer last season, averaging 17.6 points a game. It's 84 degrees at 11 o'clock. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air Conditioning. Stay cooler with Bueller.
XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Everything you need to know about the Jags. Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
All right, Dylan, it is my goal. It's a low bar. To not forget anything essential to the program this week. You know how I am when Tony's not here.
Oh, it's just free willy.
It's
whatever we want to do.
Right? Tony's not here. There's no structure to the program. Tony helps keep me structured a little bit. I need that.
For the ones that don't know, we go to break and Tony's like, hey, remember this coming up.
Don't forget this. Don't forget this. Like, has there ever been a week? Today is case in point where I, on my own, remember that Tuesday is the Tuesday top 5.
Yeah, I was not going to remember that.
Probably not. And now, coming in on usually I like to send that out on Monday to give people a chance to think about it a little bit, but so be it. We did it today. We got it in. That's the important thing. So with that, let's do a feature that Tony usually carries for us, which is taking us around the league.
Now, Gems Around the NFL, brought to you by Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jax Beach.
All right, just a few small stories here from around the National Football League. Tom Pelissero of NFL Media reports today the Players Union, currently working to finalize a proposal to overhaul the offseason which would start as soon as next year with voluntary on-field work gone, a longer training camp when players would show up from mid-June to early July, I guess. I'm not quite sure on the timeline of this, but basically a lot of stuff that's happening now would not be happening. And the kind of stuff that is happening now, they would push it back closer to the season, extend training camp. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dylan. Didn't a lot of this stuff come out of the fact that the players are sick and tired of having this immensely long training camp?
That's correct.
Right? And they were compelled to be there. And part of the deal was, here's a low-cost alternative that doesn't really cost the owners anything. We'll just have these OTAs where we'll call them voluntary. And for the superstars, they are. Right? Josh Allen, the good one, is not going to show up. Didn't impact his ability to get a massive contract, did it? Right? Because they knew that going in. Josh is Josh. He knows how to prepare himself. Don't think you're going to say that about Brenton Strange, right? Although Brenton Strange has the right under the collective bargaining agreement to not show up. And the league and the teams are not supposed to be able to hold anything negative over them for not being there. Well, the negative is somebody else is getting the reps to impress the coach. Josh Allen's got his place. Josh Allen walks in as the guy chasing the franchise all-time lead in sacks and will likely take it down very soon, sooner rather than later. So, again, it's a haves and have-not kind of situation, but this is interesting. This is more of, hey, we know it's voluntary, but we kind of are expected to be there. And the smart players want to be there, and the opportunities they have to build that chemistry, to install offense and defensive game plans and build that timing between quarterbacks and new receivers and all that stuff. But if no one can be there, it's not going to put us behind. We'll just show up a little bit earlier. Some think this may be a precursor, like one of the things that the Players Association is going to want in any negotiation for an 18th regular season game, which apparently, according to any NFL source you pay attention to, will be coming. The owners will not settle for not getting that 18th game at some point in time. We'll find out. Internationally, we know this season the NFL is slated to have 5 games overseas, 3 in London, 2 involving the Jags. 1 will be in Munich and 1 in Sao Paulo, Brazil this year. The league is not done casting its eye for new locations, though, as Dublin, Ireland, and Paris, France are now being vetted as possible international locales for NFL regular season games in upcoming years. On top of Ireland and France, the NFL has also previously looked into having an international game in Spain as well. So still trying to grow that NFL footprint. And former Cincinnati Bengal first-round center Billy Price announced his retirement from the NFL over the weekend. He revealed that he had emergency surgery to save his life earlier this offseason. He had a pulmonary embolism that required treatment, which led directly to his decision to hang up the cleats. And there you have it, 29 years old. I hope he got what he could out of his playing career, but your health, you only get one body and one mind, and you got to protect it ultimately. So, Billy Price, best of luck as you enter your 30s as a retiree, at least from the National Football League. All right, Dylan, let's get back to the countdown. Then we'll get back to Doug Pederson today. Your Tuesday top 5, we are counting down your 5 biggest on-field concerns right now that you'd still like to see addressed for the 2024 Jacksonville Jaguars. Where did we leave off, Dylan?
Number 3.
All right, number 3. Numbers 5 and 4 for me were, will Brian Thomas Jr. hit the ground running, and who will the third pass rusher be? Number 3 for me is, have they done enough at cornerback? They've done a lot. They've made a lot of moves at corner. Do they have the right combination of players? Will those players stay healthy? I think Ronald Darby can be a really good player in Ryan Nielsen's scheme. We'll hear Doug Pederson talking about that scheme coming up here shortly, but track record isn't great when it comes to health. Last year it was pretty good. Is that the outlier year? Has it just been bad luck that's kept him off the field up until now, or does he have a predisposition to get banged up and miss time? He's missed a bunch of it. How does he fit in? How does Darnell Savage fit in? How does Antonio Johnson fit in, and Jarian Jones, and this whole mix? And what do we end up with? Like, when you got a baseball team that's rolling, you get the same lineup out there every day. Is this going to be something that by mid-September, we're pretty sure we know who the safeties, the outside corners, the nickel corner is going to be, that barring injury, this is our group in nickel, and here's our dime guy. And will that stay consistent? Will they play well enough for that to be the case? Certainly hope so. DeAndre Prince, another piece that they've added there. They've added a lot of bodies. They really have. Maybe not all the ones you wanted. Trey Flowers, another guy who played under Nielsen in Atlanta. Does one or two of these emerge to play the kind of high-level football you need to down in, down out at that position with the ridiculous talent that is at wide receiver in the NFL right now? So yet to be determined. I don't think we're going to know that until we get into the season. No matter what they do in the offseason, we're really not going to know that. Does Tyson Campbell make that step into truly putting both feet onto an elite tier and stay there? Does he force the Jaguars to give him, or at least consider giving him, a top-of-the-market type contract? Love for him to be in that position because that means he played great this year. So corner for me, have they done enough work there? Dylan, for you, what's number 3?
Number 3 for me is Trevor. I'm going to say situational football. Being in the red zone, not turning it over like you mentioned with Frank. And the main thing with me is, like, a lot of what he's done, the mistakes he's had in the last, I'm just say the 2 years, because I'm not going to include his rookie year. Like, it's not something that's coached. Like, obviously you can say, don't throw this, throw it away. Don't throw an interception once you get in the red zone. How much of it is Trevor saying, okay, now this is year 4, I'm going, and potentially, we all think he's going to get an extension before the year, but if it doesn't happen, I'm going into a contract year. What can I do to fix this and make it better? Because all the good quarterbacks, they don't do a lot of things that happened against Baltimore that happened at the end of the year. Or when the Jags went to London 2 years ago and he throws an interception in the end zone. And it happened a couple more times in that year early in the season. What can Trevor do to not completely eliminate it but fix a lot of those issues? And I don't think that's something that's coached. I think that's just all comes from within him and him making the change.
I do think it gets coached, though. I think you have to accept it, right? Because when you're as talented as he is with that arm, you can make throws that most quarterbacks can't. So it's very tempting to have that belief in yourself and say, I'm going to trust my teammate to make a difficult catch for me in the end zone. Sometimes he does that, and they come up with spectacular plays. So I think it's a question of Trevor being willing to just live for the next down. Yeah, and I think he's done better in that category. It's, to me, the fumbles have overtaken the interceptions at this point. But I hear you. Ball security overall for Trevor, number 3 on your list. We'll continue the countdown as we go along today. Let's get back to, this is not Trevor. My guess is, because the McManus story was the first thing Doug had to address today. Right? That makes sense, right? It's the hot news story. My guess is someone is writing a story on Mac Jones, because Mac Jones, then there were some questions immediately about your backup quarterback. That's not usually the way it goes, but you could see Mac being from Jacksonville, somebody doing a feature on him. And today, Doug Pederson described Mac Jones as the ultimate pro.
He's the ultimate pro. He's done a great job since he's been here, spending time, studying the offense, getting caught up, in the offense. You can see why. I mean, I liked him coming out of college, when looking at quarterbacks back then, and we're excited to have him. It gives us a great room, with he and CJ as kind of, competing in that role. And he's done a nice job. He throws a really good ball. He's smart. He's eccentric. He's can be a little quirky at times. You see him out there on the field doing some different things, but that's the joy and the fun, I think, that he wanted to get back to a little bit, and he's done a great job for us.
Well, being an ultimate pro means a couple of things for Mac Jones. Very simple. Understand your role, which is to support Trevor Lawrence and be ready when your number's called. Period. Right? Don't for 1 second think you're in a quarterback competition, because you're not. That's just the facts of the matter. Right? Travis Gibson is not in a competition with Josh Allen for one of those pass rush starting spots, right? I mean, no matter what Travis Gibson does this offseason, he's not going to supplant Josh Allen. I know people out there, the anti-Trevor contingent, however big or small it is, well, what would you be afraid of competition for? Well, sometimes you have your guy, and you eliminate competition in a way to kind of move forward, right? I mean, there's no doubt in anybody in that organization's mind who the guy is. Maybe in some fans' minds, but it can't be in Mac Jones' mind. He has to know being an ultimate pro means coming in here to do everything to support Trevor Lawrence's success and the team's success. And then if he gets his opportunity, be ready to go. That's it. Doug thinks that just having a change of scenery, maybe coming back home, could be good to kickstart Mac Jones' career.
Yeah, I think it can. I think change of scenery sometimes is good, for players, for coaches, and for him to get back here around family, friends, and has been good for him. And I think he's embraced it, since he's been here.
All right, we'll get more on some meaty Jaguar subject matter coming up next, including new defensive coordinator Ryan Nielsen, why Doug thinks he's the right fit, and how the scheme works with the players available. More on Trevor Lawrence and his growth. A little bit on Tank Bigsby. So some of the more the names that you'll be counting on to hear more contributions from than hopefully the backup quarterback. I hope Mac Jones' contribution is he never plays a snap. Right? But Trevor Lawrence is sharp, and Mac Jones is a good sounding board because he started a lot of football as well. Now, nothing wrong with that. I mean, C.J. Beathard is not as good as Trevor Lawrence. That doesn't mean he can't, with a fresh set of eyes, at times help him to look at things in a particular way. Mac Jones, come on, be a part of that Trevor Lawrence success. Be a part of that team's success. That's the number one way, barring injury, that he's going to be able to contribute to this organization. We'll get more from Doug Pederson coming up on the other side. We'll continue the countdown as well of the top 5 current on-field concerns you have for the 2024 Jacksonville Jaguars as we roll along. This is Jaguars Today on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
1010XL Jaguars Today Tuesday is brought to you by Dream Finders Homes. Homes built to fit your lifestyle.
From the Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute studios.
1010XL takes you inside the program director's office with Dan and Jeff.
They don't even know they're on the air, do they?
The Drill.
Is there any way to tell them that they're on the air? Nope.
Mornings on 1010XL.
Oh, they're going to curse. I know it.
Brackish Vodka, a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, is the smoothest local vodka you can find. Made right here in Jacksonville, Florida, 100% from corn, Brackish Vodka is the local gluten-free choice. Brackish Vodka, for those that live life slightly salty, a proud partner of the Jaguars. Brackish Vodka is now available at Duck Pins in Fernandina Beach. Make sure to check them out. Cocktails, bites, and strikes.
How nice would it be not to worry about your AC unit for 10 years? What? Vaughn's Heating and Air, standing by their units for 10 years. Imagine not having to think about your AC unit for a decade. Vaughn's 10-year warranty covers the parts, labor, and refrigerant. Basically everything. No fictional problems that will cost thousands. This is legit. An AC unit with no repair costs. Wouldn't that be nice? So remember, if your AC unit won't turn on, just call Vaughn's. That's Vaughn's Heating and Air.
Jumbo Shrimp Baseball, presented by FIS, is home this week at 1-to-1 Financial Ballpark. Tonight is Purr at the Park, Bring Your Cat. Tomorrow is 5-Star Good is Everywhere Wednesday, featuring Project Chance and Mayo Clinic. Get this weekend started with Coors Light Thirsty Thursday, and we'll have fireworks Friday and Saturday. Baseball all weekend. Tickets start at just $5. Log on to jackshrimp.com. Jumbo Shrimp Baseball.
I'm with Greg from Cycles of Jacksonville, and Triumph is such a beautiful ride. But, Greg, you're telling me that there's a price point that's going to invite even more potential buyers.
There is. There's 2 new models, both of them under $6,000, one of them under $5,000. Great motorcycle, same Triumph quality and design. You got to come see it.
And it still is that big bike underneath you.
It is. It's a good-looking bike and all Triumph.
You can log on, cyclesofjacksonville.com, or visit the showroom on Atlantic near Regency.
How is the internet delivered? The answer coming right up.
With hurricane season now here, the only weather you need to be concerned about is whether your homeowner's insurance policy will cover you in the event of storm damage. Ask about Southern Oak Insurance today.
Our family protecting yours, Southern Oak Insurance.
The internet is mainly delivered to us via undersea cables.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
Get fishing tips and stories from Captain Kevin.
Bite's gonna pick up pretty soon.
On the Ring Power Fishing Forecast Show. Brought to you by Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
Whoa! Thursday nights at 6.
On 1010XL AM.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes, and I've got some exciting news. A second location of Leonard Truck Accessories is coming to Beach Boulevard. Whether it's truck accessories, trailers, or on-site uplifts, they've got you covered with all your favorite brands. All those accessories to make your truck look and perform better than ever. From Real Truck to UWS, to Weather Guard, carry-on trailers, and much, much more. Circle your calendar for Friday, June 28th from 2 to 4 p.m. because we're throwing a party and you're invited. Tons of prizes to win, including a brand new loaded golf cart. That's Leonard Truck Accessories. Your truck, your style.
Hey, I'm Tony from Tony D's Pizza. People ask me all day long, is it the water that makes the difference? Well, yes and no. Even water can't make a good pizza. It's the ingredients, too. The best tomatoes, the best flour, and the best cheese. Oh, and a lot of love. Tony D's New York Pizza, Bay Meadows and 295.
Hidden Hills Golf Club invites you to come out and experience one of the most beautiful and unique golf courses in North Florida. Affordable golf, friendly service, and great times in the Hills Grill after play. Book your tee time, hiddenhillsgc.com.
Imagine waking up this time next week and being 100% debt-free from credit cards, car loans, and personal loans. Hey, Prosser here. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit can make it happen. Homeowners are turning their home equity into cash almost instantly. With Loan Pronto's AI-based system, you can get approval in about 10 minutes with almost no documentation, no appraisal, and no hassle. You can get hundreds of thousands of dollars out of your home. Use that money to pay off all your other loans. The average homeowner saves over $850 a month doing this. Listen, your home value's way up. You can use that to wipe out all those credit cards. Get some money for a home improvement. Literally hundreds of thousands are at your fingertips, and approval is just minutes away. So call now, 904-999-1508, 904-999-1508, or go to loanpronto.com. NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, equal housing lender.
Attention skilled electricians, are you undervalued at your current company? Time to step up to the bigger projects and better opportunities. Join the team at Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering not just the job, but an experienced, top-notch pay, unbeatable benefits, and the best working environments in the business. Please join the team that values your skills and rewards your hard work. Elevate your career to new heights. Apply today at millercareers.com, an equal opportunity employer.
I-9 Sports is fired up for their summer flag football tournament series, so make sure your team is part of the action. It's all happening in June and July at Duval Charter School at Bay Meadows at their brand new turf facility. Register as a team and join the fun at i9sports.com.
After a huge holiday weekend, Art of Natural Stone is extending the clearance sale pricing one more week on pavers, stones, gravel, and travertine. Upgrade your outdoor space with clearance sale prices one more week at both locations for the Art of Natural Stone.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Jaguars Today
on 1010XL.
All right, just knocking it out 10 minutes at a time. That's all I can do today, Dylan. It's all I can do, baby.
That's all I need, Mike.
All right, that's all you're going to get. We got about, 30 minutes left to go in the program today. We are glad you're along with us. The plan this week, and, plans are made to come crashing down around you sometimes. But Johnny O tomorrow in studio, second hour. Demetrius Harvey of the Florida Times Union going to sit in for the entire show on Thursday if he's feeling well. I didn't give it to him, whatever he's got. He's a little under the weather today, but hopefully he'll be good by Thursday. And then Tommy Mack's got Friday off, and Fat Tony's out on assignment all week long. Braves lost again yesterday, huh?
Yeah, they did.
I think that was the case.
The Cunha was just gut-wrenching.
My team had a day off, which I hated that, man. Memorial Day. Like, come on, baseball schedulers. Like, everyone's off. All teams should be playing. But they're on the West Coast right now, man. That's late night, but I'll make it. All right, let's get back into Doug. We'll continue the countdown. By the way, you can submit your top 5 list. Many of you have on Twitter or X at MD_1010XL or at 1010XL Denmark. We're looking at the top 5 concerns you have, on-field concerns. It's not about Trevor's contract or Brandon McManus' headlines or any of that other stuff, and we'll see where that whole thing goes. On that front, though, Pro Football Talk making the point that the thing that could end up being a complication for the Jags is that there's like a no alcohol policy on team flights. Now, I thought these were like team flights home to where you're going to have a guy get in a car. I don't know about, a situation where like they go to London. It's not like any of these guys are getting in their own vehicle.
No, you're going straight to the hotel, right?
Right. They're being taken to the hotel. They have drivers. I doubt they get behind the wheel of a car all week. But anyway, that's been an issue in recent years in some cases with the National Football League. And again, we'll find out as the days go on if there's any substance and teeth to these allegations, which is what they are right now against Brandon McManus and the Jags in general for fostering an environment where allegedly these flight attendants didn't feel like they could operate in a professional manner. So we'll find out. All right, back to Dougie. He's already weighed in on that. You can go back and listen to that if you want to at your leisure. But now let's switch it over to the defensive side of the ball for now before we get to Trevor Lawrence here. And was asked a lot about Ryan Nielsen. Again, this feels like maybe a situation where someone's writing a piece on Ryan Nielsen. I could be wrong, but why was Nielsen the right fit when the Jags decided to move on from Mike Caldwell?
For me, it was finding the right fit, the right person. Ryan was in Atlanta, and unfortunately, Arthur Smith was let go, and so he was a candidate that was available, and definitely had piqued my interest based on his career, where he had been, who he had worked with and for, and Coach Payton in New Orleans, and coaching the D-line, and we feel like that's a strength of ours, obviously here, and so he was somebody that I wanted to talk to.
Yeah, don't ask Falcon fans if they feel bad about Arthur Smith moving on in Atlanta. It's like the guy didn't realize how good of a talent Kyle Pitts was his whole time there, right? And let's spend a top 10 pick on Bijan Robinson and treat him like he's Tyler Algier 2.0. Kind of. It was just weird how they didn't lean into their star players a little bit more. But on the defensive side, they made significant improvements under Nielsen last year. Pederson feels that his scheme fits well with what the Jags have on the roster.
If you look at where he was in New Orleans and where they ranked defensively when he was there, and then when you look at what he did in Atlanta, the quick turnaround defensively he did in Atlanta, then you say scheme, right? But your scheme only works if you got the right guys, right, and you got the right players. And I think that was also enticing for Ryan to come here to Jacksonville as well because of the type of players that we had that would fit his scheme.
Isn't it kind of funny knowing, like, for years the Jags brought in talent and people were like, man, they feel like they got personnel that fits a 3-4 better than a 4-3. But they keep drafting for this 4-3 defense. And eventually they said, no, we're going to play 3-4. We got the personnel now to play a 3-4. And then they lean into that for a couple of years, and then you hire a coordinator because you feel like what he brings, which is more of a 4-3 look. And again, multiple, we're all multiple, right? God forbid you don't say you're multiple on defense in the National Football League these days. But let's hire this guy because his 4-3 fits the personnel that we have added to play a 3-4, right? Like, so have we not identified the right players for the schemes that we've been drafting for all this time? I'm not saying that the pieces they have, like, I think having Walker and Allen up on the line of scrimmage with their ears back, rushing the passer, that's a good thing for this football team. And, do we have enough at the linebacker core? I don't know. And maybe it's the scheme in terms of how he sees the corners being more aligned towards press man than they are to zone, and that they'll, thrive more in that kind of environment. I don't know. It's just odd to me that you spend these years building towards something. Everyone recognizes, maybe you should switch to that other thing. And then you do, and you're like, okay, wow, we got all these pieces that fit. Let's keep working on this. And then all of a sudden we hire this guy because the pieces we have that we were building something different with fit what this guy does. Just interesting to me. So why was Nielsen ultimately the best choice?
Obviously, youth helps, but I think the fact that when I talked to Ryan and when I talked to and interviewed all the different candidates that we did, the development, right? The development of our roster and everybody on the roster was something that was intriguing to me, and that's that's something that we needed to address, we needed to fix, and that's not just on that side of the ball. It's offense as well, and so I think listening to these candidates, these coordinators talk about the development and what they do, what they can do with young players, and how they can get them to perform. Again, is very intriguing and very sort of the alignment for me, and it's no different than myself being able to develop quarterbacks, being around quarterbacks and things of that nature. So that part of it, I think the development aspect of it was the biggest key for me.
Yeah, to me, this is the most important thing that Doug Pederson said so far that I've heard this morning on this. Because, look, for years, what are we talking about? You want to be draft and develop, right? And when you miss on your first rounders, well, a lot of those are busts. You can only develop those guys so much. But are we developing our second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh round picks into maximizing what they can turn out to be? At times, yes. At other times, right? So it's one thing to go out there and spend money on a Foye Oluokun, who's established, and you basically know what he's going to give you when he comes in. You don't have to develop Foye. He's done a lot of the developing already. You just add him ready to go, just add water, boom, in the middle of your defense. Have we gotten the right development out of Devin Lloyd? Has Tyson Campbell maxed out his potential? Trayvon Walker took a big step, but has he maxed out his potential in his first couple of years in the league? I mean, certainly there's some guy like Josh Allen, hard to argue that he's not maxing out what he's capable of doing when he's setting Jaguar records like he did last year. But, these other guys are good players, but could they be great players more consistently? And that's a big part of it. If you're going, you can't just always splash $75 million on the free agent market, especially when you're getting ready to pay your quarterback $50+ million a year. That's going to eat up a big chunk every year that otherwise you didn't have to account for. So, yeah, cheap labor is great, but let's maximize what we get out of that cheap labor, right? Now, again, his side of the ball. But, for instance, did we get enough development out of Brenton Strange and Tank Bigsby last year? This year is going to be big for them. We'll hear some thoughts on Tank coming up. We'll get to Doug on Trevor Lawrence as well in a moment. But, Dylan, back to the countdown. Where do we leave off?
Number 2.
All right, recap us, if you would, your first 3, and then give us your number 2 item on your top 5.
At number 5, I had the interior defensive line. Number 4 is the run game. Number 3 is Trevor situational football, protecting the football. Number 2, I'm going to go pass rush. Kind of like what you said earlier. Who's his third pass rusher? Is it going to be Gibson? Is it going to be somebody that's not on the roster yet? Is it going to be I don't think it's going to be this guy, Yasir Abdullah, or is it going to be Devin Lloyd potentially? We saw Ryan Nielsen say last week that there is no depth chart. A lot of it's probably coach speak, but this is the time now where you can put a lot of guys in a lot of different positions, and pass rush is going to be one of those things because you're switching the scheme that you have that we just played sound from. So I'm going to say third pass rush for the Jags, number 2 for me.
I understand that mentality of there's no depth chart, right? But there's somewhat of it. There's the bones of a depth chart on every team, right? Josh Allen is your star edge rusher. And, line him up wherever you want. Josh Allen's the number 1 piece on your defense. Foye Oluokun, maybe he's number 2. Whatever. You know what I mean? There's certain guys. Now, I get what he's saying. That, hey, Trayvon Walker, he's going to be a big part of what we do, but maybe it'll be inside some of the time. Maybe it'll be on the edge some of the time. Maybe he will drop back in coverage on occasion, whatever the case may be. Everyone hates when an edge rusher drops back into coverage, except when it works. they overlook that.
And that right.
Right? Like
I hate when
the big play against Tennessee to clinch it, the sack fumble a couple years ago, Josh Allen dropping into coverage on that play, right? As an example. But all right, and again, we're looking at on-field concerns as we see it at the moment. I had Brian Thomas Jr. Will he hit the ground running, make a big, immediate rookie-year impact? Who is that third pass rusher, as we just discussed? Do they have enough at corner? And then, look, it's obvious. Have they done enough on the offensive line? I don't know. Maybe. I mean, if you look at it from the negative, you say you had a lot of issues with the O-line, with protection, and you only changed out one piece. You got Mitch Morse. Not the best center in the league. Maybe he's a league average guy, maybe a little bit better than that, but he's kind of up there older. He's not a long-term solution. You're counting on a lot of the same guys playing a lot better than they did last year. That's the I'm worried kind of point of view. The positive point of view is Cam Robinson missed 8 games. Maybe he doesn't miss time this year. Maybe he's healthy, and certainly the suspension isn't looming. So you got that. Anton Harrison going into year 2, and that when you're supposed to make your big leap. He was good in year 1. Could he be great in year 2? Ezra Cleveland got here, never quite healthy. Maybe with Brandon Sheriff not having to worry about the guy to his left, with having a veteran in Mitch Morse, he can focus on his own game and maybe gives you one last hurrah that shows you glimpses of that 5-time Pro Bowl form that he's had. You've got a new center in Mitch Morse, who is, by all accounts, a significant upgrade over the guy they had. And look, if Luke Fortner had to play, at least he's not going to be in over his head from the standpoint that he's started every game since he's been here. He's got that. You've got 4 viable tackles if Javon Foster is worth a damn. I mean, I don't care they got taken in the 4th round. You're first team All-SEC. You should be able to be a swing tackle in your rookie year. He's not even being asked to be that, right? So he's just great quality depth. And they've got some other pieces like Cooper Hodges that yet to find out. So the optimistic view is there's a lot of untapped potential there. The truth is it's probably somewhere in between. And is that in between good enough? That's probably the best way to frame my number 2 there. Have they done enough? Is that group going to prove to be good enough to protect Trevor, to improve that running game, to impose their will when it's time to impose their will? So we'll come back. We got our number 1 in the top 5 countdown, I should say, and we'll get a few more Doug Pederson on Trevor Lawrence and a little bit on Tank Bigsby as well as we wrap up this Tuesday on Jaguars Today. Get you ready for Helmets and Heels coming up at noon on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Hey, folks, Mike Dempsey here for Awaken 180 Weight Loss. I've told you recently just how much better in general I feel, how much better my health has been, how I don't have major health issues directly attributable to my weight anymore. That's because I'm not lugging around an extra middle schooler these days. I dropped a lot of weight over the last year, and Awaken 180 helped push me across the finish line with the last 25 I needed to hit. I hit my goal weight. They promised me I'd be able to keep that weight off, and they have stuck to their promise and fulfilled it. Matt Hayes, Hacker, ask those guys. They'll rave about it because they've done the same thing for them. It really changes your life. Some of our listeners have taken part in Awaken 180 Weight Loss and their program, and they have raved about it to me as well. One person described it as saving their life. It may be you who's the next success story. Call 844-346-1800. You'll lose the weight. They'll tell you 4 to 5 pounds a week and maybe more than that, but they'll help you keep it off with free coaching and support for life once you hit that goal weight. That's Awaken 180 online at awaken180weightloss.com.
1010XL, Jaguars Today Tuesday.
From the Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute studios. Brought to you by Dream Finders Homes, official home builder of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
2nd and goal from the 5-yard line.
Hear the voice of the Jaguars, Frangie.
2 receivers right, 1 to the left. Crowd getting involved.
Afternoons on the Frangie Show.
Victory formation for Jacksonville.
On 1010XL.
You don't have to be a football star to get a signing bonus. The team at Republic Services needs your skills, and they're paying up to $5,000 for you to join the roster. You'll be joining a winner. As an essential business, the Republic Services trucks have not stopped rolling with hourly and weekly pay and better benefits and vacation packages than the rest of the league. Driver trainees, $1,000 sign-on bonus. CDL drivers, $3,000. Diesel mechanics, $5,000 bonus. Join the winning team at Republic Services today. Visit republicservices.com.
Equal opportunity employer.
If you're a business owner and want to learn about federal, state, or local government contracts, plan to attend a free online webinar May 28th. The Florida Apex Accelerator, in partnership with UNF, provides expert guidance and consultations at no cost. The Apex Accelerator program can make selling to the government less complicated. Attend a free coffee and contracting webinar May 28th. Register at unf.edu/SBDC. Then select Training and Event tab.
Duck Rooter is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. When you need help with any plumbing or septic issue, just give us a call and relax. We'll send one of our first-round draft picks to get the job done right. DuckDuckRooter.com. That's DuckDuckRooter.com.
I spray and scrub, but the soap scum in my bathtub is still there.
I spray and scrub, but the burnt sauce on my stovetop sticks around.
Sprays can leave grime behind, but new Mr. Clean Ultra Foamy Magic Eraser combines the scrubbing power of an eraser with the cleaning power of Dawn to melt away tough messes on contact.
Just wet, squeeze, and erase.
Stop spraying, start erasing, and clean with more magic than ever with new Ultra Foamy Magic Eraser.
Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean.
Get ready to swing into the hottest party this summer. Join First Tee North Florida at the Yard June 13th for the Summer Soiree. We're bringing the spirit of the Pacific Islands to Ponte Vedra with a Hawaiian luau-themed event. Enjoy family-friendly fun, including Hawaiian food trucks, live music, craft cocktails, golf games, raffle prizes, and more. The First Tee Summer Soiree provides the perfect blend of golf, party, and philanthropy. All proceeds benefit the impactful programs of the First Tee. Visit firstteenorthflorida.org/summer soiree to secure your tickets today.
Spend lunchtime with the ladies.
Hey, where's your sense of adventure?
They don't cook, but they serve up spicy sports talk.
Sure, it's on the menu.
Helmets and heels.
That is a meal.
Switched on by First Coast Lighting and Fans on 1010XL.
Picking here, May is Healthy Vision Month, folks, so it's time to put your eye health front and center. If you haven't had a comprehensive dilated eye exam in a while, now's the perfect time to schedule one with Bowden Eye. A comprehensive dilated eye exam is the best way to check for common eye problems, even if you haven't noticed any symptoms. Detect signs of eye diseases like glaucoma, diabetic eye disease, and age-related macular degeneration. Call or visit BowdenEye.com to schedule your consultation. Bowden Eye & Associates, keeping the First Coast focused.
I'm with Greg from Cycles of Jacksonville, and summer fun. That means it can be anytime, whenever there's warm weather out, to go enjoy the off-roads with a Honda ride. Now, this is a two-wheeler or a four-wheeler.
That's right. Honda's got a great line of two-wheel products, and of course, their side-by-sides and ATVs, which are legendary and a ton of fun to get out with your family and friends.
I tell everybody, you can pretty much load up and go anywhere and find fun with one of those.
Absolutely.
Honda, with their beautiful off-road lineup, two wheels and four wheels. Check them out on the showroom floor, Atlantic near Regency, or online, cyclesofjacksonville.com.
The coolest thing going on right now is the summer fan sale with 3 ways to save at First Coast Lighting and Fans. Browse their huge selection of high-quality fans to match your desire for elegance, quality, and uniqueness. Buy 1 fan, save 10%. Buy 2, save 15%. Buy 3 or more and save 20% off summer pricing on all fans. Visit their showroom near the avenues while inventory is still available and discover the difference that locally owned expertise makes at First Coast Lighting and Fans.
Hey sports fans, it's Ace Carline for Kingfish Pest Control. Are mosquitoes turning your outdoor fun into a full contact sport? Time to call in Kingfish Pest Control. I can tell you from my own experience, they are the MVPs of mosquito elimination. See for yourself. Call Kingfish Pest Control today and get an unbeatable 50% off your first treatment. That's right, sign up for a full season of lockdown coverage and get 50% off your first treatment. Don't let mosquitoes steal your home field advantage. Reclaim your yard with Kingfish Pest Control.
Don't ignore unusual aches or new pains down there. Be proactive and get screened at Ackerman Urology for common cancers of the prostate, bladder, or kidneys. Early detection is the key. With 5 locations across Northeast Florida, visit AckermanUrology.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. This is Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
All right, got my man Dylan Denmark backing me up today, and I appreciate it greatly because, let's just say, I'm not on my A game physically right now, Pockets, but I'm hanging in there, and hopefully the saga will be over in a few weeks. I know, and nobody wants to hear about it, but it is what it is. It is what it is. I do wonder, Dylan, if you had a kidney stone in 1743, did you just die?
Yeah, so I looked that up on the internet. I couldn't find an answer. Like, I guess. Or
I'm
you
guessing
just, or you just had pain
or
forever.
you just were in agonizing pain until somehow, like the ones I was dealing with were not, there was no just, oh, it'll pass. No. A centimeter and a half, bro. There's no room. Not going to happen. You're going to have to be invasive on these things. What did you do? If you were apparently a kidney stone generating machine like my body is, right? They're like, we got to look into this because this is not normal how many you are capable of creating in a short period of time. Well, then look into it, please. And please give me something I can take that's, just like everyone's like, drink cranberry juice. Don't think I haven't done these things. Right? Like they tell you, drink a shot of lemon juice in a bottle of water every day. Yeah, and?
Yeah, anytime there's ever a problem, the first thing you always do, usually now, go to Google. What are the symptoms? How do I cure it? What can I do?
Right.
I'm sure you've done that
like once you
all
get
day.
to the point where I was at, there's no you could hook your mouth up to the Ocean Spray spigot and it's not going to matter. Okay? You reach a point where surgical intervention is needed. God, just anything. Imagine if you just broke your arm badly in the 1700s or something like, oh my gosh, man, some of the medieval stuff people were going through not that long ago. Thank you, modern medicine. I appreciate it. I'm not that guy, Dylan. I don't need to show how tough I am by going through 8 degrees of pain. You know, they ask you oftentimes, what's your pain scale on a scale of 1 to 10 or 0 to 10? I hope nobody ever says 10 because I know it can always get worse. But they're like, yeah, we got people in here who stub their toe and say it's a 10. I'm like, come on.
Oh, my gosh.
Like, shoot me in my face. Like, if you shot me in my jaw, right, and I didn't die, I would imagine that's a 10. I'll give you a 10 on being shot, okay? Something like that, or stabbed or whatever. I mean, I maxed out at like an 8. I'd hate to think what 9 would be. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, you and I have both had warehouse jobs, so we've known what that's like. Or no, you worked at the store.
I worked at, but I worked not in a warehouse. I was a shelf stocker.
Okay.
I've dropped things on myself. If that's where you're going with it.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, I mean, we know what finger pain and dropping something on your toes is like.
I mean, momentarily, you get your finger caught in a door jam, that might be a 10. But it lasts for like 30 seconds, right? And then it at least somewhat subsides. In terms of like ongoing pain, I couldn't imagine anything above an 8. And I couldn't imagine dealing with that without modern medicine. I'm not that tough. Sorry. Love modern medicine. Big fan of modern medicine. All right. Let's move on.
Anywho.
It's going to get sprinkled in just because I'm dealing with it here on a day-to-day basis. But I made it in. All right, I'm here, and so mostly I feel like we haven't let you down for the most part today. So let's get back to Doug Pederson so we don't let you down on that front and hear what he had to say. Just talking today, this morning, just less than a couple of hours ago, about the growth he has seen from his quarterback, Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, no, physical we know about. We gotta keep him healthy, but mentally, I think number one, I think the way he leads this football team, he's becoming the vocal leader in the locker room, on the field, in meetings. He's engaging. When we got him 3 years ago, he was just learning our system and kind of quiet and just trying to go through, the motions a little bit of just trying to adapt to us and get a feel for us. But now he's engaging. Now he's giving us ideas. Now he's giving us suggestions and ideas and really becoming another a coach, a set of eyes, on the field, and that's just his growth. That's just his development as a quarterback.
Look, Trevor Lawrence, it bears repeating, is 24 years old. Right? You can say, why hasn't he been doing this all along? Well, I think Doug is showing you or telling you that he started to do this last year, and he's taken more on, and now he's at a point now where it's kind of he feels like it's his offense in many ways, and he can make those kind of contributions. And so Doug Pederson was asked, is one of the things to do to help Trevor Lawrence simply not changing the offense this year?
Not changing a lot, schematically, and keep, repetition goes a long way, and utilizing that repetition to benefit, your football team. And that's where Trevor's really taken, I think, the next step, for us. Now it's got to translate on the field, right, and into wins and losses and touchdowns versus INTs and stuff like that. But that's where I've seen the biggest growth, I think, in the few years that we've been together.
All right, Dylan, I think this is a good time. We'll interject in the middle of some of Doug's commentary to finish off our top 5, because I'm going to talk about Trevor here a little bit. So go ahead and fire it up.
Number 1.
All right, number 1, we're looking at on-field concerns for the Jags, or things we're not sure about for the 2024 season. And my top 5, number 5, will Brian Thomas Jr. hit the ground running? Who's the third pass rusher is 4? Have they done enough to bolster the secondary, the cornerback position particularly? Have they done enough on the offensive line is number 2 to give Trevor the kind of protection he needs, the kind of push that Travis Etienne and company need in the running game? Number 1 is simply, can Trevor put it all together? That's number 1 for me. And what does that mean? Well, part of it is protecting the football better. Part of it is making better decisions. Part of it is, Dylan, 2 years ago, Trevor Lawrence did receive some votes. And keep in mind, for years, the MVP, you could vote for one guy, right? So when he said Russell Wilson never got an MVP vote, well, if he wasn't being voted the MVP, there was no second place vote. And they've changed that. Now I think you vote for 5, right? So Trevor getting some votes. There may have been some other Jaguars over the years that might have picked up some votes. But he became the first Jag to ever get MVP votes. I think it was more because there's a difference between being the best player and the most valuable player. And I think they looked at him that year as saying, wow, man, he was really instrumental in a number of these comebacks. And really, that was the theme, kind of the cardiac cats, whatever you want to call it, coming back. Trevor Lawrence, they were never out of it when they had him. Did he play the best football in the NFL from start to finish, top to bottom? No. I think that's the jump I'd like to see him make this year. Not being in the MVP consideration because he's pulled a few out of his butt in the fourth quarter, okay, which is important. He's got the ability to do that. But consistently start to put himself more in the conversation in a higher tier of quarterbacks. At the end of the year, are we talking about him in the top 6 or 7 QBs as opposed to the top 9 to 12 quarterbacks, something like that, right? And, it's tough to jump into that top 3, 4, 5. But for me, putting it all together is the number one question. I don't doubt that he can. I don't know if he will. I don't even doubt that he will necessarily. But you have to do it. Having the ability is not enough. You have to go out there and do it. And will he be that 30-touchdown, 10-interception guy who doesn't lose 7 or 8 fumbles, who does lead this team to double-digit wins, who does have a couple of fourth-quarter comebacks, who is making smart decisions, who is protecting himself out there on the field? These are things all within his capability. 25 years old seems like a hell of a time to put it all together and then get on that multi-year run of doing that. What do you have at number 1, Dylan?
Number 1 for me, I'm going to say what everybody was saying going into the draft. I'm going to say that the cornerback position.
Okay.
Corner, we had Ronald Darby. We picked him up, and, he's had some injury issues the last 2 years when he was not so much in Baltimore, but when he was in Denver. And, Baloo talked with him last week. I know you weren't. I don't think you were here. We played a soundbite, and he was like, Baloo straight up asked him. He's like, "Do you play inside?" He goes, "Nah." He's like, "I've never played inside." So you have the 2 guys that you're going to draft in Jones and Prince, and we're going to, there's multiple defense. So what is the defensive back outside of Tyson Campbell? You're going to have him at corner. Not so much the safeties here, but what does your cornerback position group look like? And a lot of people, just fans, just at the water cooler, they'll just say, this guy, you need a guard, so just move a tackle to guard, and that'll work. It doesn't work like that. The same with corner. Having an outside corner is completely different than an inside corner. The inside corner, you don't have no help. Like the outside corner, you have the sideline as a boundary.
Right.
You can squeeze him to the sideline as a friend. There's no hiding for a slide corner. I just want to know what that's like going this year.
Yeah, I think, I'm really intrigued at that as well. And I kind of talked about that a little bit, just have they made the right moves, but have they done enough? Jarian Jones is fascinating because, Hayes joined us, I don't know, maybe a month ago when he proclaimed that he thinks he'll start on the outside. That doesn't mean Ronald Darby's a wasted signing because even if Jarian Jones does start on the outside in, base defense, if that happens, that's fantastic. You're getting good value out of your 3rd-round pick. If he's nothing more than your nickel, I think you're still getting good value. I say nothing more. That's a pretty important position these days, but there's certainly a world where you can start on the outside and then you move to nickel and dime and you move inside and then Darby gets on the field and they attack it that way. That's a possibility. So we'll see how it all – I think a lot of people have a lot of similar ones. As a matter of fact, we'll save what's left to Doug. You're going to hear more from Doug Pederson as the day goes on, I'm sure, here on 1010XL. Let me just look at a few of the other top 5s that got submitted here, and whatever we have left over from Doug, and certainly Press Taylor speaking today as well, you'll hear tomorrow on Jaguars Today. From Noah, 1 is offensive line, 2 is defensive secondary, the next 3 are offensive line. So, all right, you see where his concerns are. Bush Drive Rich said, can Gabe Davis take over for Zay? Does Doug go back to calling plays in the first half? Can our kicker come through when we need him? Will Trevor stop doing the Superman checks at the line? I don't know. He should. And who's the 3rd pass rusher? Let's see. G-Boss 904, O-line, play calling, second corner, DB2. I'm going to read that as second corner. Edge depth, run game consistency. Griff 904, O-line, running back depth. Need an alpha wide receiver. Hopefully Brian Thomas can be that guy. Play calling. Trevor Lawrence needs to hold on to the ball. I almost want to put play calling in a different category. You know what I mean? Like that. that does impact the on-field directly, but I didn't even think in that direction. Like, that is something that, like, it's to me more about execution of the play calling and the personnel that I was looking at today. But if you put that in, that's fine. Keith went with O-line, pass rush, secondary corner. Trevor cutting down on turnovers, having a more vertical offense. That's almost my 5 right there if you just substitute vertical offense for Brian Thomas, having a big rookie year impact. He's going to be a big part of that vertical offense. Big Will, who's the primary play caller on offense? Who are the starters in the secondary? What's the ETN workload look like? Third pass rusher. Has the kicker situation been fixed? Jason went with O-line, returning 4 out of 5 starters. That's concerning for him because it wasn't up to snuff last year. Trevor in the turnovers, depth at corner, depth at rush end. Still no alpha wide receiver. I do think we've got a potential alpha. I don't even know if Brian Thomas has to be your 1 by the end of the year. I just think he needs to flash like he's going to be a 1, and he gives you strong wide receiver 2 production at a minimum this year. Interior O-line play, short yardage, looking at some more of the specifics that didn't necessarily get brought up. Who's the Sam linebacker? Tank Bigsby, is he legit number 2 behind ETN? A lot of the same ones, though. And look, not surprising, right? We know what the issues are with the Jags in many ways, kind of prioritizing them a little bit today. That'll do it for us on the program today. Can't thank Dylan Denmark enough for an excellent job. Appreciate Frank Frangie, voice of the Jags, stopping by, giving his thoughts on the current state of the Jaguars, as well as the legacy that David Lamb leaves behind. Rest in peace, big guy. And condolences once again to his family and friends out there as Dave passed away at the end of last week. That will do it for us today. Let's hope this Brandon McManus thing ultimately turns out to be nothing, but it'll be what it is. And we'll cover it hopefully fairly and accurately, and that's all we can do because right now none of us really know other than what's been alleged. And to be fair, Brandon McManus and his camp have vehemently denied any accusations of wrongdoing on that flight to London last year. So time will tell on that front. John Oehser will join us in studio tomorrow. Keep him healthy out there for the rest of today and OTA's Jags. And we'll talk to you again from 10 to noon tomorrow on 1010XL with Helmets and Heels. Coming up next, keep it right here, 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
It's Jaguars Today, Tuesday.